The rusted Dodge looked like it had already been forgotten by the world. Its faded paint was peeling under the harsh summer sun. Weeds had grown around its tires. The windshield carried years of dust, and one headlight hung loose like a tired eye staring into the past. To everyone who passed by, it was nothing more than an old piece of scrap metal waiting for the junkyard. But hidden beneath decades of dirt, loss, and memories was a secret that would change one man's life forever. Before we begin, take a moment to like this video, leave a comment, share it with someone who believes in kindness and second chances, and subscribe to the channel for more inspiring stories that remind us that hope can appear when we least expect it. For 13 years, Michael Carter had been raising his daughter alone. Life had never been easy for him. When his wife passed away unexpectedly after a sudden illness, he found himself standing in a hospital hallway holding the hand of a 6-year-old girl who didn't fully understand why her mother wasn't coming home. That moment changed everything. Michael had once dreamed of opening his own repair shop. He had talent, experience, and a deep love for engines. But dreams became luxuries after he became a single father. Every dollar went toward rent, food, school supplies, and medical bills, and keeping the lights on. Over the years, he worked wherever he could. Construction sites, auto garages, night shifts at warehouses. Anything that paid enough to help him and his daughter survive. His daughter Emma became the center of his world. Every sacrifice he made was for her. When she needed new shoes, he wore the same work boots another year. When she wanted to join school activities, he picked up extra shifts. When she dreamed of attending college one day, he quietly opened a savings account and deposited whatever spare change remained at the end of each month. The old Dodge sitting beside their small rented home was one of the few things Michael had left from his younger days. It had belonged to his father. Years earlier, Michael and his father had spent weekends restoring engines together. The Dodge wasn't fancy. It wasn't fast. But it represented memories that money could never replace. After his father died, Michael promised himself he would someday restore the vehicle completely. But life kept getting in the way. The Dodge sat untouched. Year after year. Rain. Heat. Snow. Time slowly consumed it. Yet Michael never sold it. Whenever Emma asked why he kept the old truck, he simply smiled and said it reminded him where he came from. Then came the hardest year of all. The warehouse where Michael worked announced major layoffs. After 12 years of loyal service, he was among those let go. The news hit like a freight train. Suddenly, every bill became a threat. Rent notices began arriving. The savings account he had built for Emma's future started shrinking. Michael spent weeks searching for work. He attended interviews, filled out applications, made phone calls. But jobs were scarce. The stress carved deep lines into his face. Some nights he sat alone at the kitchen table staring at unpaid bills while Emma pretended not to notice. She was 17 now. Old enough to understand more than he realized. One evening she found him looking at the Dodge through the window. The truck sat quietly beneath the setting sun. For a long moment, he neither spoke. Michael knew what he was thinking. The truck might be worth something as scrap. Not much. But enough to cover groceries for a few weeks. Enough to delay disaster. A few days later, he finally made the call. A local scrapyard owner agreed to inspect the vehicle. The appointment was scheduled for Saturday morning. Michael barely slept the night before. Selling the truck felt like losing another piece of his father. Another piece of himself. But survival leaves little room for sentiment. Saturday arrived beneath grey skies. The scrapyard crew pulled into the driveway shortly after sunrise. Two workers stepped out and began examining the vehicle. They walked around it slowly. One kicked a tire. The other shook his head. To them, it looked worthless. The older worker estimated the truck's value based solely on weight and metal. The number was painfully low. Far lower than Michael hoped. Still, he was prepared to accept it. He needed the money. As paperwork was being discussed, another vehicle unexpectedly turned into the driveway. A black SUV rolled to a stop near the road. An older man stepped out. He appeared to be in his late 60s. Well-dressed. Confident. Observant. His eyes immediately locked onto the Dodge. The man asked if he could take a closer look. The scrapyard workers shrugged. Michael nodded. The stranger slowly walked around the truck. He crouched beside the driver's side. Examined the engine compartment. Studied the dashboard. Then his expression changed. His calm demeanor disappeared. Something had caught his attention. He leaned closer. Wiped away decades of grime from a small section near the firewall. Then he froze. For several seconds nobody spoke. The stranger carefully cleaned more dirt away. His eyes widened. "What is it?" one worker finally asked. The man didn't answer immediately. Instead, he looked toward Michael. The question he asked next would alter everything. He wanted to know where the truck came from. Michael explained that it had belonged to his father. The stranger listened carefully. Then he pointed toward a tiny factory stamp hidden beneath layers of dirt and corrosion. Most people would never have noticed it. Even experienced mechanics could easily overlook it. But collectors knew exactly what it meant. Years ago, a very limited batch of Dodge vehicles had been produced with a unique factory configuration. Documentation on these vehicles was incomplete, and many experts believed most examples had disappeared forever. The stamp indicated this truck was one of them. The scrapyard worker stared in disbelief. Michael didn't understand. To him, it was still just his father's old truck. The collector explained further. If authenticated, the vehicle could be worth tens of thousands of dollars. Possibly much more. The driveway fell silent. Michael thought he had misheard. Tens of thousands. For the rusted truck everyone considered junk. It sounded impossible. Yet the collector appeared completely serious. He requested permission to inspect additional identification numbers. After nearly an hour of examination, his confidence only grew stronger. By then, excitement had replaced skepticism. The scrapyard workers quietly stepped aside. Their low offer suddenly seemed ridiculous. Within days, experts verified the discovery. The truck was authentic. Not only authentic. Rare. Extremely rare. Collectors across several states expressed interest. Auction houses made inquiries. Automotive historians requested photographs. The forgotten Dodge was no longer scrap metal. It was a surviving piece of automotive history. For Michael, the attention felt surreal. Just a week earlier he had worried about paying rent. Now people were discussing values he had never imagined. Yet the most emotional moment came when he found an old photograph hidden among his father's belongings. The picture showed his father standing proudly beside the Dodge shortly after purchasing it decades earlier. On the back, written in faded ink, was a simple note. It read that one day the truck might be special. Michael stared at the words through tears. His father had known. Not necessarily about its future value, but about its significance. About preserving something worth remembering. The auction date arrived several weeks later. Collectors filled the room. Bidding began. The numbers climbed rapidly. 20,000. 30,000. 50,000. 70,000. Michael could hardly breathe. Each bid felt unreal. By the time the auction ended, the final price exceeded $180,000. The room erupted into applause. Michael sat frozen. For years he had carried burdens that seemed impossible to overcome. Now, suddenly, doors were opening. Debts disappeared. Rent worries vanished. Emma's college fund was fully secured. For the first time in years, the future looked bright. Yet what touched Michael most wasn't the money. It was what the discovery represented. The truck had survived because he refused to abandon it. Even during his hardest moments. Even when others saw only rust. Even when selling it seemed practical. He held on because it mattered. And somehow, that decision changed everything. Months later, Michael finally fulfilled another dream. He opened a small repair shop. Nothing extravagant. Just an honest business built on hard work and integrity. Above the entrance hung a framed photograph of his father standing beside the Dodge. Customers often asked about the picture. Michael always smiled before telling the story. Not because of the money. But because it reminded him that value isn't always visible. Sometimes the most important things appear broken. Forgotten. Outdated. Worthless. Yet hidden beneath the surface are stories, memories, and possibilities waiting to be discovered. Before we reach the end, please leave a comment and tell us where you're watching from. Have you ever kept something others considered worthless, only to discover it meant far more than anyone imagined? Years later, Emma graduated from college. On graduation day, Michael stood among hundreds of proud parents. As he watched his daughter cross the stage, tears filled his eyes. Every sacrifice. Every sleepless night. Every difficult choice. Every moment of struggle. It had all led here. Emma later told him that the greatest gift he ever gave her wasn't the college fund. It was the example he set. He taught her resilience, loyalty, patience, and the importance of never judging something solely by its appearance. The old Dodge had changed their lives. But perhaps its greatest gift was the lesson it left behind. A lesson that many people spend their entire lives learning. Sometimes treasures hide beneath rust. Sometimes hope hides beneath hardship. And sometimes the things the world is ready to throw away carry value beyond imagination. If this story touched your heart, please like the video, share it with someone who needs encouragement today, leave a comment below, and subscribe for more inspiring stories. Because every once in a while, life reminds us that what appears broken may actually be extraordinary. And that second chances can arrive when we least expect them. The old Dodge disappeared into a private collection, but its legacy remained with Michael forever. Not as a vehicle. Not as an auction record. But as proof that faith, perseverance, and love can preserve something valuable long enough for the world to finally recognize its worth. And in the end, perhaps that wasn't just the story of an old truck. Perhaps it was the story of Michael himself. This version is designed for an emotional YouTube narration with a hook, 2 engagement requests, a special comment request near the end, and a complete ending in a single part.